most hotly anticipated films of 2025 has got to be Zootopia 2, right? I mean, the first film, when it came out back in 2016, was an absolute revelation of a movie. However, I feel that in the years since, there's been a massive effort to underplay the film's success, scoffing at it, calling it furry bait, or degrading its quality in comparison to other films of its era. However, the results really do speak for themselves. It grossed over $1 billion at the box office and ended up winning an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Not many films can claim both of those things. When Zootopia Plus came out on Disney Plus, it was very popular too, and it had a great reception. Thus, in the wake of the underperformance of many different films, I wasn't shocked at all to see that they're going to be making a second one. In fact, I was pretty shocked that they took so long about it to begin with. I know that they of course wanted to diversify things, but you don't leave another potential $1 billion gross on the table, you know? In the end though, regardless of how long it took to get there, we're now for certain getting the movie, and the hype is only continuing to grow and grow the further along we go, and the closer we get to the release date. Over the last couple of months, slowly but surely, we've started to learn a little bit more about the movie and what it's going to entail. We got the first teaser, which was mostly just vibes and then running away from the cops carrying that snake character, whilst the first proper trailer came out a couple of weeks ago and was fairly popular and began to somewhat illuminate the story, but there's still a lot of questions that needed to be answered. Just the other day we had the D23 Expo, which is essentially a celebration of all things Disney. They decided they wanted to have their own private Comic-Con to do their own thing, and of course they showcase exclusive clips and make other announcements about their properties at this thing too. As part of that, we got a little bit more information in regards to Zootopia 2 that we're going to talk about now. For starters, we confirmed the casting of 2 new members of the cast. The first is Yvette Nicole Brown in the dual role of Baroness Bear, who was a guest at the gala, and then also an EMT Otter. I don't expect that either of these roles are going to be especially massive, as otherwise I doubt they would have gotten her to double up on the parts. I suspect at best they're each going to feature in a single scene and have a couple of lines apiece. That being said though, I am actually pretty hyped up about this casting to tell you the truth, even if it is for a small character. She has a lot of voice acting experience if you look at her filmography, and back in the day I was a big fan of Community, in which she starred and was very good. She has a great voice and is suited for comedy, and I think she'll suit the parts well. Not really much else to say about this particular piece of casting news. Which in turn takes us to the big announcement. Patrick Warburton's going to be playing the part of Mayor Winddancer, a former actor turned politician who's now become the mayor following the disgrace and downfall of both Mayor Lionheart and Mayor Bellwether with the whole Night Howlers controversy. This is going to be some of my favourite casting for a Disney movie in years. I was right in the perfect age bracket to love and enjoy The Emperor's New Groove right when it first came out back in 2000. I think like many people, the character that I always was the most drawn to was Kronk. He's one of the funniest characters that Disney has ever put out in their very long history. On top of that, he had some absurd lines and reactions, and just the best voice of all time. This is not some sort of insane, overstated hyperbole either. I truly believe this in the depths of my soul. Patrick Warburton as Kronk is the greatest voice performance in animation history. Seriously, all you have to do is go through the insane number of Kronk compilations to realize that this is the god-honest truth. Hell, pretty much every voice performance in that entire film is top tier, but he is just on the next level. Anyway though, the casting alongside what we've learned about the character really hints at what the personality type is going to be. For starters, just take a look at any of the images of this guy. He is a muscle-bound stallion, so already from the get-go, I think he's meant to be a bit of a parody of dudes like Arnold Schwarzenegger, actors who end up going into politics. I don't think it's going to be a massively flattering portrayal either. On top of that, we have a little bit of a blurb about the character to work with as well. He's charismatic, but rather clueless. He dreams of being as much of a hero in real life as the characters he played on his TV shows. Yeah, once again, I don't think it's going to be a very flattering parody. It's going to be a more heart in the right place type of character that he wants to be a hero and be brave, but due to his lacking intelligence, he's going to get easily swayed by others' opinions and led around by the nose. On top of that, he has the same physicality as Kronk, being big and strong, with the implication being that he's a nice guy who's trying his best, even if he does the wrong things, much like how Kronk is a nice guy who struggles with doing the right thing across the course of The Emperor's New Groove. I expect it's going to be much the same here. I'd be very shocked if they ended up framing him as a villain throughout the movie. At worst, it's going to be like Mayor Lionheart in the first one. As he says, did he falsely imprison the animals who'd been turned savage by the Night Howler drug? Yes, he did, but it was a classic doing the wrong thing for the right reasons kind of a deal. Plus, if you add in all the context we've just discussed and then slap on the news that they have cast Patrick Warburton, well yeah, I would be extremely shocked if they went in any other direction than full Kronkification. Man, the design, the little character blurb they've given him, it all sounds so perfect. I suspect he's going to be the big breakout character of this movie, and we're going to be seeing some clip compilations and meme videos starring him for years to come. Mark my words, kids. Mark my words. However, the actual casting news wasn't the only talking point to come out of D23 either. We had a lot of clips and stills and plot discussion with director Jared Bush on the stage, which we'll go through now as well. He straight up started walking through the opening sections of the plot. No joke, he was breaking down what seems to be a significant portion of the movie. The film begins with Nick and Judy on a case undercover, pretending to be a couple as they attempt to catch a smuggler. So the trailer scenes were in that high-speed chase through the streets and Nick's wearing the shirt that says "Fox your dad." That's all for this opening section. I can't actually show any of the clips here because I don't have them, but the dude they're chasing is an anteater who from his design seems to be very mafia-coded. Also, I think here before we go any further, we can have a brief raising of the eyebrows moment at how hard they're teasing Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps having some sort of romantic connection. We'll talk all about that in a little bit after we've walked through what we know about the plot, but yeah, it does feel like there's a lot of smoke for there to be no fire. Of course, the chase goes very badly, and from what I understand, they end up plunging off a bridge and crashing into a brand new statue that's being unveiled by the new mayor. So not only do they endanger people and then damage public property, but they also manage to completely spoil the mayor's first big moment. Whoopsie indeed. This in turn, of course, doesn't go down well at police headquarters and gives a lot of context as to why they're in partner therapy in the trailer to begin with. After all, it wouldn't make sense for the big triumphant heroes of Zootopia to instantly get benched like this unless there was a proper reason. This, it feels like a good reason. Obviously, they're going to get sent to the therapist and it probably won't actually solve anything at all, and Judy's just going to be even more determined to prove herself and Nick to Chief Bogo and get back in his good graces. And how does she intend to do this? By working hard, slowly and steady? No. She wants to crack her failed case, and she goes through the evidence and discovers that the smuggler was bringing in a snake. Snakes have apparently not been seen in Zootopia in years, and obviously, they're probably scorned and feared by the general mammal population of Zootopia. We're likely going to have another storyline that deals with bigotry and xenophobia, and perhaps this time, it's not going to be a glorification of police either. It does feel like since the first film's released, the winds have changed in that regard. Now, Judy realizes that the snake is here to steal an antique book for some reason, and that very book is going to be at the Zootennial Gala, a big special party for all the movers and shakers in town, and one that's quite the exclusive deal. Nick and Judy are of course going to get in there, although I'm not sure whether they're doing this of their own accord and sneaking in, or if Judy took her evidence to Chief Bogo and was able to score an invite in the interest of going undercover to catch the snake. Obviously, all is not as it seems, and apparently Judy and Nick are going to have a change of heart and help Gary the Snake escape, which will lead to them being branded as fugitives alongside him. Hence why the initial trailer has them trying to run away from the police. I think it's also likely that in this section we're going to get the alternate perspective on the police through the eyes of Nick and Judy. I think this movie might explore whilst how they do good things, at the same time, they're not outright heroes either. They can have biases that shape how they behave and treat animals differently based on their species. Or at least, I hope that they go into this kind of thing. It would feel like a massive missed opportunity if they didn't. Gary's going to escape without them, and they're going to be left with the book and a lot of questions alongside a desire to clear their names. This will of course lead to the trip to Marsh Market in search of a reptile expert, which will then lead them to where Gary's hiding out before there's that big protracted chase sequence which we've seen snippets of before, including in the trailers. Already, that does seem like a lot, doesn't it? I was actually rather surprised that they've openly spoken about this much of the story. Now obviously it's not everything. We have no idea what's going on with Nick and Judy. How will some of the classic Zootopia characters come to the story? What's the deal with Gary's family? Why do they need to be saved in the first place? What is this book? So clearly there's a lot of story to play out, but I swear they've already given us this skeleton of what's going to be about a third of the movie. The opening chase sequence, which is then going to lead into them getting chewed out, benched, and sent to therapy. Judy then goes to investigate things and discovers the truth about the snake. I suspect this is where the scene where Nick accidentally throws the giant-sized soda can through the wall and almost kills that little mole comes from. Ah, good times, good times. Then they gotta go to the gala, and they need to mingle and whatnot. They're not gonna just jump straight into the storyline. You gotta chew the scenery a little bit. Then they meet the snake, they have the realization, they help him escape, they gotta escape themselves, gotta come up with a plan of action and find the expert, they talk to him, find the snake again, do the chase. That's already a hell of a lot, isn't it? It's not like they're going to be able to cram all of that into the course of 20 minutes. It just wouldn't make any sense. They need time to breathe. That's why I think we've just been given the breakdown of what is a significant chunk of the story, and I can't help but question why. I get that they're building hype and whatnot, but it feels rather egregious. To me, this is like when trailers put in all the funniest moments and lines or spoil the big reveal, so when it comes time to watch it in the cinemas, it doesn't hit the same that first time round. I'm just curious as to what the strategy here is, I guess. He then finished his presentation by showing a picture of Nick and Judy facing one another looking sad and said, maybe this story about a mismatched pair of a bunny and a fox might show us that even in this polarized world where our differences can push us apart, sometimes simply just trying to understand one another can be the thing that causes us to find common ground and mend our broken world. Somehow I've seen a bunch of people raving about how they're scared that they're going to break up Judy and Nick, which, for one, that quote makes it clear that this is not the case, and also, I didn't realize there was anything to break up. Yet. That being said, I thought it was very, very clear they're heavily teasing things here and are making it a big part of the marketing and the story. They have them posing outright as a couple in the opening, which feels pointed, if you ask me. They have banter at the start of the gala in the trailer where she slugs him. They also released a still of Nick looking like he's sweet-talking that bear lady, and Judy seems somewhat shooketh. Look, I'll put it like this. They want you to come and see the movie thinking, are they going to pull the trigger? And it's going to make up a significant portion of the marketing as a result. Whether they do or they don't, in the end, doesn't really matter. They're never going to shut the door in its face, as this can become a full-on franchise if the billions keep on coming, which I suspect they will. Thus, they won't want to damage that dynamic at all. I think there's a very good chance they'll have some sort of romance in the film. But even if they don't, they will never, ever nix it. It's just bad business to do so. I don't think there was much else to talk about in regards to the movie, but I'm so hyped, and I'm looking forward to another trailer and then the film. Hell yeah. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the Zootopia news from D23? Are you hyped for the movie? Maybe not? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.